Right now at noon, a pedestrian was struck by a train in Joplin yesterday.
Plus, it's cold outside. Temperatures will continue to fall as we go through the afternoon. We'll talk how cold it's going to get and about a warm-up on the way. Coming up.
The death toll rises from a massive winter storm nationwide.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Just before 10 p.m. Christmas night, reports of a train striking a pedestrian north of Joplin alerted Jasper County. This is KOAM News at noon. I'm Carrie Worthen. Carl Junction Fire, Met's ambulance, and Jasper County Sheriff's deputies responded. Missouri State Highway Patrol were also notified. A southbound Kansas City Southern train loaded with grain struck a pedestrian. The engine came to a stop at 152 Mile Post, about half-mile south of the incident, near Home Pro and Imperial Lane. The incident occurred west of the business closure to the Fountain Road overpass. Missouri State Highway Patrol Trooper B.A. Walker confirms with KOAM Shannon Becker in Rayon J. Chili's 26 of Sarcoxy, Missouri, died at the scenes. No one was on the train was injured. A Christmas Day crash leads to serious injuries for a Purcell, Missouri woman. Troopers say a 2023 Buick Teresa driven by Lisa Bryant of Purcell traveled off the roadside and struck a tree. She was transported to Mercy Hospital in Joplin with serious injuries. Firefighters came to the aid of a dog owner trying to save their pup after it fell through the frozen lake. The Oklahoma City Fire Department said its crew were called to the scene where a dog owner was holding a rope attached to the dog that had fallen through the ice. Firefighters used a paddle boat to rescue the dog and bring it back to the shore. The dog had no apparent injuries, the department said. And now we're going to go to Chris about the weather.
Now, I wish I had some better news for you, but we've got at least one more really cold day to get through. Some of us have seen a little bit of wintry precipitation out there this afternoon, not really amounting to anything. And for the most part, it's now shifting on off to the south and east. Right now, I-44 and Range Line, the MoDOT camera there, we're starting to look better. This morning, we still had some slick spots to deal with, but roads are gradually improving out there. And for our normal high and low, we are not really near either of these. We're supposed to be 45 and 27. And that's not going to be the case today. We started out this morning actually fairly warm, and temperatures have just continued to fall off. We're at 20 in Iola, 24 Pittsburgh, 27 Miami, 29 Neosho. We're sitting at 25 in Joplin, and you factor in the wind, and it feels like 3 in Iola, 11 Chatopa, 18 Neosho, feels like 13 in Webb City right now. So again, this is just the technical high. This happened several hours ago, early this morning. Temperatures will continue to fall as the evening progresses, but we will start to see a few more peaks of sun, which is definitely a good thing. We need more sun to help with the melting process, and the good news is there's a warm-up on the way. We have a lot of things going on in the forecast. We want to make sure you're never without, so make sure you scan that QR code or go to your favorite app store and search for the KOAM Skywatch weather app. That way you've got the latest alerts and forecasts in the palm of your hand wherever you go. Now, we did mention there's going to be a warm-up. We'll talk about that here in just a few minutes. Carrie?
2022 saw Americans go to the polls for midterm elections. President Biden trying to deal with the economy. Former President Trump already looking ahead to 2024. And the Supreme Court issued decisions that will have impacts for decades to come. Skylar Henry has more details from Washington, D.C.
The people have spoken.
Midterm elections made 2022 a high-stakes year for politics. Democrats held control of the Senate and even gained a seat after Georgia's runoff race.
51, a slim majority. That is great.
But celebrations were short-lived after Arizona Senator Kyrsten Sinema announced she was leaving the Democratic caucus to be an independent. Republicans narrowly recaptured the House, giving the GOP control of one chamber.
For me, the hours come for a new generation to lead the Democratic caucus that I so deeply respect.
Nancy Pelosi announced she was stepping down from her leadership position following the Republican win and a brutal attack on her husband. Investigators said the House Speaker was the intended target.
Are you ready to take this state back?
Some of the most prominent midterm candidates backed by former President Trump lost their races. As the GOP shifted blame to him, he announced another run for the White House.
America's comeback starts right now.
Trump's announcement came just before the appointment of a special counsel to oversee investigations into the former president, including his handling of classified material at his Florida home. Trump was also the focus of the House Select Committee investigating the January 6th assault. A series of public hearings featured testimony from people near the president that day, including aide Cassidy Hutchinson.
The president said something to the effect of, "I'm the effing president, take me up to the Capitol now."
The committee released a final report laying out the former president's culpability for the insurrection.
We believe that the evidence warrants a criminal referral of former President Donald J. Trump.
Congress also passed a handful of President Biden's key legislative priorities, including the Inflation Reduction Act, with $369 billion in climate investments over the next decade, the first major gun control bill in nearly 30 years, and more than $18 billion in aid for Ukraine in its fight against Russia.
Putin's invasion of Ukraine in March set gas prices soaring literally around the world.
President Biden spent much of the year trying to ease the economic strain on Americans. He tapped the Strategic Petroleum Reserve to lower gas prices and canceled up to $10,000 in student loan debt for millions of Americans. Legal challenges to the loan forgiveness are headed to the Supreme Court. In June, the High Court's conservative majority upended decades of precedent, reversing Roe v. Wade, ending federal protection for abortion rights.
The health and life of women in this nation are now at risk.
This decision is a victory for the pro-life movement.
Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson took the oath ahead of the fall term.
I, Ketanji Brown Jackson,
becoming the first African-American woman to serve on the Supreme Court. Skylar Henry, CBS News, Washington.
Congress also acted just before the end of this year to pass the Respect for Marriage Act, which makes same-sex and biracial marriage legal nationwide. Lawmakers rushed to pass the bill in case the Supreme Court reversed decisions making those marriages legal. That's a look at today's top stories and weather in our first 7 minutes. Up next on KOAM News at noon, death toll rises in flight cancellations due to massive winter storms across the U.S. And later, we're making jerk-style chicken in the Mr. Food Test kitchen. The death toll from a massive winter storm has risen to at least 48 nationwide, including more than 24 in Buffalo, New York. Fewer than 100,000 customers across the U.S. remained without power Monday after storm gave much of the country a freezing cold Christmas. But the problems at the airports continue. Christian Benedliz has the latest from Miami, where a couple of dozen flights have been canceled this morning.
The snow battering Buffalo, New York is showing no signs of letting up. Officials expect the area to get another 8 to 12 inches by Tuesday afternoon.
This is not helpful as we're trying to recover and clear off streets and get into areas that still have not had a plow.
That's on top of 3.5 feet that came down over the weekend, making most roads in the area impassable.
Cars everywhere, pointing the wrong direction on roads. They've basically been plowed in.
Hundreds of thousands of Americans experienced power outages at some point over the weekend, from Maine to Washington State.
It was cold.
This man and his family spent Christmas at a library-turned-warming shelter in Roanoke, Virginia.
This is a warm place, and it's for everybody. It's a lot better than our place right now.
The frigid temperatures also caused major disruptions across the South. Burst water pipes brought a wet Christmas for Georgia repair crews and led to a boil water advisory in parts of Mississippi.
Can't cook, we can't wash our dishes.
The weather is causing major trouble at airports nationwide. Thousands of flights have been either canceled or delayed Monday morning, according to FlightAware.
I understand everybody's frustrated. We can't control the weather.
That's in addition to the more than 9,000 flights that were canceled or delayed on Christmas Day. Cristian Benavides, CBS News, Miami.
Temperatures are expected to climb across the nation this week, but forecasters say there is a chance that rain and melting ice out west could bring flooding through tomorrow from Seattle to San Francisco. Still to come on the KOAM News at noon, Mr. Food.
One holiday might be over, but another one starts today. What is it and what's on the menu? We'll show you.
But first, temperatures continue to fall today, and we've got some very gusty winds in our future. We'll break it all down coming up. Well, we had a crisp start to the day for us, a bit on the cold side, but unfortunately, if you've taken a step outside here this afternoon, you've noted that it's gotten colder since when we got up this morning. Temperatures continue to fall through the day. Some of us even picking up on some wintry type precipitation out there. Thankfully, none of it amounting to much. MoDOT camera at I-44 and Range Line looking good so far this morning. The roads were a little bit wet. They're starting to look a little clearer than they were. That doesn't mean there's not still slick spots out there, but nonetheless, not bad. We are at 25 in Joplin today after starting much warmer than this. Feels like 13. The northwest wind at 14, gusting to 24. Across the region, temperatures behind this north breeze continue to drop out there. 20 in Iola, 23 Parsons, 27 Miami, 29 Neosho, and 25 in Carthage. And you factor in the winds that have been picking up a bit this afternoon. Feels like 3 in Iola, 7 in Fort Scott, 13 in Commerce and Carthage. Feels like 11 in Lamar. Now, the good news is we're going to start to warm up. The bad news is these 20-mile-an-hour wind gusts are going to be nothing compared to what we're expecting in the next 24 hours or so. So our high, technically, about 33 degrees, and that was this morning, and temperatures have been falling since then and will continue to do so. We'll drop down to about 20 by 8 o'clock, but we'll start to see a little more sunshine out there as the day progresses. Once we head into the evening hours, we'll start to see cloud cover increase, and we get cold yet again, back down to 10 degrees for our overnight low. So here's what we're talking about down the road. This is 2 o'clock tomorrow. Look at the winds. Here in Missouri and extreme southeast Kansas, they're gusty. That's still somewhat manageable. We're talking 25, 30. But look at Yates Center. Future wind gusts up into the 40, 45 mile an hour range out there. Then it overspreads the area. This is 3 a.m. Wednesday. Take a look at some of these possible gusts as we head into Wednesday morning. We're talking 50 to nearly 60 mile an hour wind gusts out there. And that on its own is enough to potentially bring down small tree limbs and cause power outages. And mind you, there's no storm system associated with this, no thunderstorms, I should say. We're just going to be getting super breezy. And as you can see, we head into Wednesday afternoon. We're still holding on to wind gusts pushing 40, 50 miles an hour out there. We go overnight into Thursday, and you saw they spike again in the evening. And by Thursday morning, we're still pushing 40 to 50 mile an hour wind gusts across the area. So that's going to be its own problem. But you may have noted those wind arrows were out of the south. That's going to be a change in our temperatures. Here we've got some cloud cover going through the morning, and as we head into tomorrow, things start to look a little bit better. We're also a little bit warmer, a little less cloud cover out there, and as we go through the rest of the week, things actually start to look pretty darn good. Now, as we go into Thursday evening and Friday morning, we could see a few scattered showers and thunderstorms out there, but those will kick on out of here. And then we've got another chance for some potential showers on Saturday. So let's break it all down for you. 39 tomorrow. Up to 52 Wednesday. There's those thunderstorm chances we talked about Thursday night into Friday. So we're looking at 63 by Thursday, 58 on Friday, 53 on Saturday for New Year's Eve day. Slight chance of showers, but the good news is those showers are expected to be out of here before it's time to celebrate. And then take a look at New Year's Day, 55 degrees. So we have a much milder holiday weekend coming up compared to the one that we just went through, being in the 20s. But the kind of wild thing is when we showed you the almanac, we talked about where our normals are. Wednesday's about the closest we come to normal, even that's above normal. We're going to go from way below to way above within a matter of about 72 hours. We just can't balance out, but I don't think anybody's going to complain about these milder temperatures on the way.
No, I don't think so. And then the lows, look at that. I can turn my faucets off now from dripping.
Yeah, we'll finally be able to see some melting out there. Your pipes will be able to thaw. We'll finally get at least a little bit warmer as we head into the end of the week. But the big concern really is just going to be those 50, 60 mile an hour wind gusts out there. They're going to cause their own problems.
So do not wear a dress Wednesday. So don't. Yeah.
Most certainly not.
Yeah.
If you've got a toupee or something, make sure it's glued down. Don't wear a hat, and don't open an umbrella. You shouldn't need to by Wednesday, but if you just carry one for fun or maybe a parasol, don't open that up.
Exactly. Thank you, Chris. We take this time to honor today's four-state hero. Sergeant William Prater served in the U.S. Marine Corps. His hometown, Oronogo, Missouri, And we are proud to salute Sergeant William Prater. We thank you, our 4th state hero. Christmas may be over, but Kwanzaa is just starting. Howard shows us how to celebrate by making jerk-style chicken in the Mr. Food Test Kitchen.
I hope you had a Merry Christmas. Did you realize that today marks the first day of the week-long celebration called Kwanzaa? For those of you who aren't familiar with Kwanzaa, it's a time that honors African heritage by celebrating family, community, and its culture. So to celebrate it, we came up with a recipe that we think is very fitting. We start by placing a cut-up chicken in a plastic storage bag, then adding some soy sauce, vegetable oil, a little bit of rum, jerk seasoning, and a few slices of red onion. We're going to let that marinate a few hours, or even better, overnight. Once it's well marinated, we drain it and place the chicken and the onions in a baking dish, and into the oven they go until no pink remains and the skin starts to crisp up. Now, while that's roasting, we can whip up a quick side dish to serve with it, which is simply a bag of coleslaw mix that we toss with a bunch of colorful veggies and a 2-ingredient dressing. And although this is perfect for Kwanzaa, it's also great after all those holiday leftovers are used up. It's one of those dishes that's so simple, yet so satisfying that everyone comes back for seconds. The recipe for what we call jerk-style chicken and the Kwanzaa slaw are both online now, so you can enjoy them tonight or any night that you want something easy and special. I'm Howard in the Mr. Food Test Kitchen, where today we're looking for a festive way for you to say, ooh, it's so good.
You can find this recipe along with a lot more good food from the Mr. Food Test Kitchen online. Just go to our website at KOAMnewsnow.com. Now here's a look at our 4th state market prices.
All right, so temperatures continue to drop for us today, and it'll be chilly, down to 10 tonight, 39 tomorrow, 52 Wednesday, maybe some showers and thunderstorms Thursday night into Friday, otherwise 63 and 58, 53 Christmas Eve, New Year's Eve day, and 55 by New Year's Day. And the other thing we're keeping an eye on too is just the fact that we've got those wind gusts over the next couple of days pushing 50, 60 miles an hour, so be careful.
At least we're starting the new year off to a good start.
Yeah,
weather-wise.
a little bit milder than what we have been for sure.
I'll take it.
Yeah. What do we have coming up at 5, Gary?
All right, coming up at 5, we will have a recent survey from American Psychology Association. Finds nearly a quarter of American report feeling depressed in the winter, and 2 in 5 say their overall mood declines in the winter. Psychologists say cold, dark weather can have a real impact on the mood. They remind patients that people need to be aware that if they're having depression symptoms during these months. Plus, construction is one of the world's economy's largest sectors, with $10 trillion spending every year, but roughly $1.6 trillion is wasted by productivity problems. And a look at your latest forecast. Join us for those and stories and more at KOAM News at 5.
Have a great afternoon.